Who'd have thought we'd be mentioning a BlackBerry as one of the best smartphones in 2015? But, the beleaguered company's work on the Priv cannot be ignored. A nicely crafted design, with a well-concealed keyboard, makes the Priv a pleasure to use. But the best bits happen in the OS. BlackBerry has beautifully dovetailed Android with smart features like the BlackBerry Productivity tab, hotfix and enterprise managed updates. But watch out for that laggy performance and erratic battery life. Another underdog in the running for this year's best smartphone. Despite its price tag, the Honor 7 is a solid competitor. Highlights include the slim all-metal design, 1080p display, the in-house developed, high-silicon Kirin 64-bit chipset, which, with 3 GB of RAM, means the device is pretty much on par with the LG G4 in terms of performance. The device also has some quirky features that make it stand out. You can take a screenshot by double-tapping the display with your knuckle, while screen resizing is easily done by swiping left to right. There's also the touch-based fingerprint scanner which worked nicely. Aside from when in my pocket, there are, however, some features that do verge on gimmicky. The device's camera is inundated with modes such as good food and beauty shot, when more time should have been spent developing the camera itself. But, if you're into taking selfies and pictures of your avocado on toast for Instagram, this may not be a problem. The camera is still decent. Where the M9 fell down, the A9 stands tall. The 13MP camera is significantly better than the M9S and includes optical image stabilization, plus some extra functionality in the camera app. It also runs a pared-down version of Sense Home, which is much closer to stock Android, meaning faster upgrades and less bloat. What HTC did take from the M9 was the excellent audio playback, boom sound returns, and there is now also support of supports 24-bit audio output with the A9's built-in DAC, as well as the chance to upscale 16-bit tracks. There's also that all-metal unibody build that caused such a fuss and a rapid fingerprint scanner on the face of the device. Beware, though, this is still a mid-range device. Which means not to stellar battery life and a slightly below par performance. Also, given its mid-range status, HTC has bizarrely priced the A9 exceptionally high. The M9 Plus from HTC is not only a bigger and better version of its predecessor, the M9, but also more exclusive. It's currently only available in China. Whilst the M9 Plus has the same 2840 mAh battery and 3 GB of RAM as the M9, there are some key differences: a larger 5.2-inch display, with a better Quad HD resolution, a 20MP camera with secondary depth sensor, an ultra-pixel front-facing camera, and a fingerprint scanner like the A9, which supports the Chinese mobile payment system Alipay. In an untypical Apple fashion, the iPhone SIXS Plus is larger and heavier than its predecessor. In typical Apple fashion, it's not really noticeable, so why the extra width and bulk? The answer lies in the iPhone's new Taptic engine, which powers the iPhone SIXS Plus' biggest feature, 3D Touch. For the uninitiated, 3D Touch brings an extra dimension of control to the iPhone's display, allowing users to register soft and hard presses on the screen. It's a smart addition that genuinely enhances the iPhone experience and isn't the gimmick I thought it'd be. There's also an improved 12MP camera that shoots 4K footage, as well as a stellar battery life. The iPhone SIXS Plus is one of the longest-lasting smartphones of the year. Is it worth buying? If you're an iPhone 6 Plus owner, probably not. There aren't enough shiny new things here that warrant further indebting yourself for. If, however, you're coming from an older iPhone, you'll be impressed by the leap in technology. With a bright and crisp Quad HD display, a camera with exceptional manual controls and a unique, leather-clad design, the LG G4 was a breath of fresh air in musky cloud of identikit smartphones. The only downsides was how quickly the removable leather back wore. It ended up looking quite shabby. The device also slowed down quite a bit after a few months of use. The headline news is that the LG V10 has two displays, one for notifications and one as the main screen. The dual-screen concept works surprisingly well because your movie watching or gaming isn't interrupted. Perhaps this is a feature we'll see in LG's 2016 flagship line. But, with that extra screen, comes the extra cost. The V10 is one of the more expensive devices on the list at $599. LG has a penchant for the weird and wonderful. Its most recent stab at flipping everything on its head? The dual-screen LG V10. With its Duraskin, the V10 is slip-resistant and drop-resistant. Good thing too, considering the V10 has a lot to smash, with a primary 5.7-inch IPS display, and a secondary 2.1-inch display on top, for pinning shortcuts, status notifications, and personalization. The idea is that when you're using the device, notifications will pop up on the second screen, keeping the main display clear. Which is really useful for when you're watching videos or playing games. As we've come to expect from LG, the display itself is typically sharp and bright. The multifaceted nature of the V10 also extends into the camera. There's a dual front-facing set of lenses, ideal for the selfie fiends amongst you. At the rear is a 16MP camera with laser autofocus, optical image stabilization and an LED flash, which provides some pretty sharp snaps. An expensive, but arguably the most unique, offering from 2015. The Lumia 950 XL brings good, unique, ideas to a smartphone market beleaguered by identikit syndrome. Features like Continuum, which allows users to plug their Lumia into a display and use it like a PC, Windows Hello and bundled Office 365 for mobile makes the Lumia a ready-to-go phone for business. There's also a very capable 20MP triple LED flash PureView rear camera that takes sharp pictures out of the box and has an impressive suite of manual controls. The obvious major issue is the lack of apps. The app gap needs to be fixed. Microsoft, for its part, is trying to bridge the gap by making it easier to port Android and iOS apps to Windows Phone, but that hasn't shown any meaningful results yet. The device itself suffers from some annoying bugs. While this is to be expected with a new OS, but that doesn't make it any less frustrating. Check out my full review here. The Moto X Pure follows Motorola's tradition of cheap, powerful, and nicely designed smartphones. There's a Quad HD display here, a 3000 mAh battery that can power up to 10 hours of battery life after 15 minutes of charging, and the all-important stock Android, which means faster Android updates. All for a very respectable $399. Motorola's raison d'etre has always been to build stock Android devices that perform way better than their low price suggests, if you ignore the Nexus 6. The Moto X Pure is no different. The smaller and more affordable choice of Google's latest offerings. At 5.2 inches, the Nexus 5X is another budget-friendly powerhouse. The Nexus 5X isn't simply a decent phone for its price range. Its 12.3MP camera, the same snapper in the more expensive Nexus 6P, is one of the best on the market and performs exceptionally in low light. It's also super light, runs stock Android Marshmallow, has USB-C and a rapid fingerprint scanner. Google knows the secret formula for making a near-perfect cheap smartphone, but, as with the Nexus 6P, the lack of wireless charging and inclusion of USB-C means you'll have to be clever about when and where you charge up until USB-C is more widely adopted. The best smartphone of the year? I certainly think so. The Nexus 6P's shortcomings are few and far between. Who'd have thought we'd be applauding Huawei planting its flag at the top of the smartphone summit? Where do I start? The camera is fast, sharp and has good low-light performance. Design-wise its all-metal body oozes premium. I think the camera bump adds some character, and its 3450 battery comfortably lasts a full day. Camera, design, and battery, this is the smartphone trifecta. The 6P owes a lot of its success to Android Marshmallow, Google's most accomplished and clever OS yet. The redesigned app drawer, Google Now on Tap, improved battery management and new app permissions are all fulfilling their full potential in a device that proudly runs stock Android. Like I said, there's little to complain about in the 6P. But the lack of wireless charging is a disappointment, especially when it charges via the non-universal USB-C. So, keep that USB-C charger close when you're out and about. Another mega cheap handset with reasonably impressive specs from OnePlus. A phone for the budget-conscious, who aren't troubled by its slightly sluggish performance, or the lack of NFC and fingerprint sensor. But, for $249, you're getting a very nicely designed iPhone 4-like smartphone that's more than capable. Perhaps a controversial choice, given the backlash the Galaxy Note 5 received from some loyal longtime Note users. There is, however, no denying the Note 5's excellence. With a slick and premium design, the Note 5 brings the Note range into adulthood. The Note 5 represents the best that Samsung can offer, one of the best displays in the industry, an excellent camera, wireless charging, Samsung Pay, slimmed down OS and a feature-packed stylus. Just remember to insert it in the right way. The lack of a removable battery and expandable storage might be forgivable on the Galaxy S6, but on a device that's marketed as productivity tool? Less so. Also, I'll repeat, don't insert the stylus backwards. In practically every area, the S6 and S6 Edge excel. The S6 Edge is not only an excellent device, but breaks new ground with its gorgeous dual-edged display. Its Exynos 7420 chipset comfortably beats out most of the competition in speed tests, and its real-world speed is eye-wateringly fast. The 2K Super AMOLED 5.1-inch curved display provides vibrant colors and reaches an incredible level of brightness. Similarly, the S6 Edge's 16MP camera with a new f1.9 lens is, quite simply, excellent. Its rich colors, instant shutter speed and sharp detail make it comparable to the best smartphone snappers of 2015. But, as I said, the S6 Edge practically excels in every area. The most frustrating drawback of Samsung's flagship is its questionable battery life. In its crippling obsession with weight loss, Samsung trimmed down the S6 Edge's battery, in comparison to the S5, which obviously means significantly shorter lasting power. And, of course, there's the furor over the missing expandable storage. The world's first 4K display on a smartphone. Someone had to do it, and Sony was the first one to cross the finish line. In that 4K display is a resolution of 2160 x 2840, with a ridiculous 806 pixels per inch. Although little content is actually displayed in 4K, in order to save battery, but the 4K footage that's available looks astonishing. Fortunately, typical HD content is upgraded by Sony's X-Reality engine that's also used in its TV range. When it comes to the camera, Sony went back to the drawing board and atoned for previous mistakes by making the best smartphone camera of 2015. The 23MP sensor picks up an incredible level of detail, has a fast 0.03 second autofocus, reduced quality loss zoom and good low-light performance, a feature that escaped previous Xperia handsets. Add to that a waterproof design, expandable storage, a reasonably quick fingerprint scanner, and you have a very capable handset. The Xperia Z5 Premium is not without some flaws. In plowing all its efforts into the 4K display, Sony has neglected the software, which, with Android 5.1 and a Sony UI, is no different to the previous model. The battery life doesn't reach the dizzying heights of 2 days without a charge either. No Xperia device has since the Z2, despite what Sony claims, which is unsurprising considering the screen technology.